The Not In My Name movement wants Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to vacate his office. This after allegations of sexual harassment levelled against him. It's alleged that an employee of Skukuza in the Kruger National Park who was offering massage services to guests opened the case against Godongwana. Joining me now is the Movement Secretary General, Themba Masango. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, these are very serious allegations being made against the minister, especially, in a time like this in South Africa, where GBV is a huge disease in this country. What are you doing to make sure that, we hear more about this and find more details into whether or not this is the case or not?
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for having us. And as you know, that gender-based violence in this country remains a scourge. Our femicide rate is 5.1 times higher than anywhere else in the world. And right now, 40 to 60% of women in South Africa have reported to be sexually harassed by a man. And those are cases that have actually been reported. So the actual number is really much higher than that. And what we are saying is that although the minister is saying and has categorically denied and said that he is innocent of this case, we are appealing to his consciousness to say that because of the alarming rape cases that we have in this country, because South Africa is known as a rape capital of the world, he should do the right thing at the moment and step aside until this issue has been ventilated in a court of law or perhaps in a competent body where we know and the country will know that this issue has been set aside and properly being investigated, and the issue has been handled appropriately. Because we cannot afford to have such a person who is in a high office, a person who is actually leading in society, to have such gruesome allegations against him. And we must be clear as a nation that we cannot afford to have these allegations going on to any man, let alone a minister of finance of a country.
Now, do you know if the minister has formally heard from the police?
Well, the last that we heard and the statement that we read is that the minister has said that he himself has not officially heard from the powers that be and the police, and that also that he is categorically denying the allegations that he was at the Skukuza with his wife and so on. But we know that, these things do happen, and many a times men in power abuse their power in actually making sure that they get sexual favors from women who are in a lesser position than they are. So what we are saying is that we hear you, Minister. We understand that you are saying that you are against what this woman has said, and that you deny these allegations. We understand that. And what we are saying now is that we are appealing to you because South Africa is facing such a scourge in this country. And because South Africa cannot afford to be known as a rape capital of the world, and because gender-based violence is such a scourge in this nation, we are saying that please just step aside for the moment. Let us make sure that this case gets investigated. Let us make sure that this case is properly ventilated in a competent environment so that we can determine what the truth is. And if you are innocent, by all means, come back. Because we cannot have a situation where we have a minister of such an important portfolio like finance who has got a cloud of sexual harassment over his head. Now the president is also announcing that they're going to be having a second Indaba or Inviso around the issue of gender-based violence in the country. And we are saying that before we even get to that, has there been a clear audit around the first inviso of gender-based violence, which organizations were given money, which organizations actually went to the ground and actually did the work to make sure that the scourge of gender-based violence is reversed. Because this scourge requires a multi-pronged attempt at making sure that this scourge is brought down from politics, from civil society, from business. And is there a clear audit to say that last time the president gave 1.1 billion rand to this problem, and then what happened to that money? Which organizations benefited from that money, and how many people actually got assisted from that? Or was it just a smoke screen? And is this why we are having these allegations continuing within the cabinet of the country? So, my brother, what we are saying is that we need clear action, and we are asking for the powers that be, especially the law enforcement powers that are in the country, to make sure that they deal with this case swiftly and venomously and as carefully as possible, to make sure that we find out what the truth is when it comes to this issue. We cannot afford to have a minister of cabinet with such an allegation on his head. We can't have that.
Have you spoken to the alleged victim? How is she holding up? What has she maybe said? Has she said something? And another question is, what is this rumor about the minister having paid the alleged victim a sum of money to keep quiet? Is that true or not, in your words?
No, we have not spoken. We have not spoken to the alleged victim. The allegation itself is big enough in this country to actually cause alarm. Secondly, if indeed it is true that the minister has attempted or has paid any bribes towards this woman to make sure that this issue is hushed, that is actually then a shame, not only to us, the government, but to men in general, saying that it proves that we are at war with women in this country, and sexual violence remains a scourge, and it's endemic in institutions and in cultures and in society. And this is something that we cannot allow. And we say not in my name to this. And we are indeed would be crestfallen to hear that the minister has actually paid sums of money. We cannot obviously categorically say that it is true or false. However, if it is true, it then strengthens the call that the president needs to make sure right now that he pulls back the Minister of Finance until this issue has been ventilated in a competent structure, so that the country can be satisfied that we do not have somebody who is abusing our mothers and our sisters when they are on holiday, especially when a country is especially suffering economic issues, and ministers can go at Kruger National Park to enjoy themselves, and while they are enjoying themselves on holiday, misuses, it will be a problem. So we cannot say whether it is true or not, and we hope it is not true. And if there are any clouds around that, we're calling on the president to act and to be bold in this situation, to say that, Minister, I'm just calling you aside, let the acting minister or the deputy minister act until such time this situation has been handled properly and that the country is satisfied that indeed you are not a pedophile, that indeed you are not an abuser of women, and wanting to use your power and your economical strength to, seduce our mothers and our sisters. We can't afford that. It is painful, it is wrong, it is evil.
Thank you so much. That is not in my name's Secretary General Themba Masango, of course, joining us here live on eNCA, just talking about the allegations made against the minister about, a sexual case there. But hopefully they will be putting some more pressure on law enforcement agencies to get to the bottom of this story. And